If you want better, become better. It is the oldest truth in human achievement, yet the one truth most people run from, because it is easier to want than to work, easier to hope than to transform, easier to complain about circumstances than to confront the person in the mirror. But listen carefully. Nothing changes until you do. Not the economy, not your family, not your opportunities, not your destiny. Everything you desire begins within the walls of your own mind, the strength of your own habits, the discipline of your own spirit. Success never starts on the outside. It begins in silence, in solitude, in the quiet decision that says, I will no longer live below my potential. That is the moment life shifts. Not when someone gives you permission, but when you give it to yourself. Look at every giant who has walked this earth. Edison did not invent the light by accident. Carnegie did not build steel empires by convenience. Lincoln did not rise from a log cabin to the White House because life was fair. They paid the price. They sharpened their minds like swords. They trained their spirit like warriors. They built themselves into the person worthy of the victory they pursued. You want a better life? Become the person who deserves that life. Not through entitlement, but through evolution, through discipline, through a commitment so unbreakable that the world has no choice but to move with you or move out of your way. There are two kinds of people walking this earth: those who wait for life to change and those who change themselves to change life. The dreamers and the doers, the wishers and the builders, the spectators and the warriors. Which one will you be? Because wishing is cheap. Dreaming is easy. Desire without discipline is the illusion of progress. Every great story begins with the uncomfortable truth that the hero must grow, must refine, must sacrifice who they were for who they are meant to become. And make no mistake, you are meant for more. You can feel it in moments of stillness. When the noise of doubt fades and your potential whispers, you are greater than this. You are capable of more than this. You were not built for average. Average is the comfort zone, and comfort is the silent thief of greatness. It convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed, that effort can wait, that your dreams will tolerate delay. But dreams are fragile. Potential is temporary. You cannot store greatness for later. You must claim it now, day by day, decision by decision, action by action. The world does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards bold becoming. And no one becomes extraordinary by accident. Every champion has walked through fire. Every legend has tasted failure. Every extraordinary soul has carried doubt, fought fear, and kept moving. Not because it was easy, but because they chose to rise when it was hard. The truth that separates the great from the forgotten is simple. Most people want the reward without the responsibility. They want the prize without the process. They want the result without the rebirth. But life does not bend for desire. It bends for development. If you want better, become better. Improve your thinking. Elevate your habits. Strengthen your consistency. Train your resilience. Guard your attitude like treasure, because it is. Your life is a reflection of your internal world. Your thoughts are architects. Your beliefs are blueprints. Your habits are construction crews. And every day, whether you realize it or not, you are building your future. The only question is, are you building a palace or are you constructing excuses? You do not need permission to rise. You do not need applause to begin. You do not need perfection to move. You need hunger. You need belief. You need courage. Because your potential is not waiting, it is begging. Begging for discipline, begging for focus, begging for the version of you who no longer negotiates with procrastination, who no longer entertains mediocrity, who no longer hides behind fear and calls it patience. Stand up inside yourself. Decide that life will not be lived at half speed, half belief, half effort. This is your moment. This is your hour. This is where the average version of you ends and the extraordinary one begins. You want better? Then rise, change, commit, become. Because the only door to a higher life is a higher self. Every breakthrough begins as an idea, and every idea begins in the soil of belief. Before greatness becomes physical, it becomes mental. Before you achieve with your hands, you achieve in your mind. Before the world sees your success, you must see it first. Understand this: you cannot live a life that is higher than your thoughts. You cannot outperform the identity you refuse to upgrade. Most people fail not because they're incapable, but because they believe too little, too late, too inconsistently. They wait for proof before they believe. They ask life to show them the result before they commit to the process. But champions operate differently. They believe first. They act with faith. They move before the world understands them. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." This is not motivational rhetoric. It is psychological law. You see, your mind obeys your dominant belief. If you feed it limitations, it will deliver limitations. If you feed it power, it will deliver possibility. The human spirit rises under conviction and collapses under doubt. So you must guard your mind like a king guards his crown. Train your self-talk. Elevate your internal language. Speak to yourself as a future champion, not a current struggler. Talk to yourself like someone destined to build, not destined to break, because your voice is the loudest voice your destiny will ever hear. Most people speak themselves into weakness. They criticize themselves into paralysis. They doubt themselves into defeat, not because they are powerless, but because they are careless with their inner dialogue. You cannot plant seeds of inadequacy and expect a harvest of confidence. You cannot speak fear and expect courage to rise. You cannot whisper failure and expect success to scream. Greatness begins where excuses end. Growth begins where excuses die. Belief begins where self-pity is buried. Do not tell the world you are committed if your greatest loyalty is to your limitations. Stand tall. Look yourself in the mirror. Speak life. Speak strength. Speak possibility. You are not defined by yesterday's mistakes. You are not limited by yesterday's failures. You are not trapped by yesterday's version of you. Growth is a choice. Identity is a decision. Reinvention is available every single morning. The extraordinary do not wake up lucky. They wake up responsible. They do not wait to feel ready. They create readiness through action. They do not chase confidence. They build confidence through consistency. And yes, you will doubt yourself. Yes, you will question your path. Yes, there will be days where the mirror looks like a battlefield and your reflection looks like a soldier running out of strength. But hear me. The ones who win are not the ones who never question themselves. They are the ones who refuse to quit while questioning. Courage is not the absence of doubt. Courage is moving forward in spite of it. Courage is taking steps when fear screams louder than hope. Courage is planting seeds in seasons of uncertainty and trusting the harvest you cannot yet see. If success required comfort, everyone would have it. If growth felt good, everyone would grow. If elevation came easy, every soul would soar. But destiny favors the disciplined. Victory bows to the relentless. Success kneels before the one who refuses to fall without rising. So today, rewrite who you are becoming. Move like someone with purpose. Speak like someone with authority. Think like someone who already stepped into their future and refuses to return to average. You don't need to erase your past. You need to outgrow it. You don't need to destroy your weaknesses. You need to train your strengths until they cannot be ignored. You don't need approval. You need alignment. And alignment begins when you decide that the old you has expired. Because there is a version of you that the world has not met yet, a version built on discipline, forged by resilience, powered by vision, and driven by purpose. A version of you that doesn't flinch in the face of challenge, doesn't negotiate with fear, doesn't collapse under pressure. That version is waiting. It is ready. It is calling. And every day you delay your transformation is a day you deny your destiny. If you want better, become better. Become the thinker. Become the believer. Become the fighter. Become the creator. Become the leader of your own mind, and your life will follow. Now, breathe. Center yourself. The climb has only begun. You are rising.